Using a cycle lane around what looked like a rather large obstacle. Gets his head down, he's in a time trialing position.
This is The Domestics, presented by Black Sheep Cycling.
Hello again and welcome to the best podcast on the planet. Well, we'd like to think so. Stop laughing, Hollywood. I haven't introduced you yet. This is the Domestics, and I'll ask the question. I'll ask the question to you at home. Who are the Domestics? Well, we are the Domestics. I'm Mike Tomalaris. I used to be on TV. What do I do now? Hollywood, what do I do now? I'll tell you what I do now. I look in the mirror and pretend I'm on TV. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's what I do now. Let's introduce Matilda first. Matilda, you are our super domestique on the Domestics. Tell me what's been happening in your life since we last spoke.
Morning, Mike. I'm here in Aotearoa, which is in New Zealand. And I'm wearing the sponsors T-shirt today. I was actually meant to be in Cairns this weekend racing the Tour of the Tropics, but as the domestic airlines have imploded in Australia, I wasn't able to make it across the ditch. So I'm here living by osmosis through the tour and through you guys in France. So yeah, it's been an incredible first week of the tour. I already feel exhausted, and I can't imagine what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting Tour de France. Lee, you told me or sent me a message just moments before we started recording that you had no idea where you were. Where are you, and why do you sound lost?
Look, I'm in the middle of...
Lee, are you at a nudist beach, or what's going on there? I can't see...
No, it's very hot in Italy. I've just had a shower after being in the pool. No, look, I've just experienced some of the best riding of my entire life along the Amalfi Coast for a few days. It's just... I cannot begin to tell you how beautiful it is riding a bike along the Amalfi Coast. And we left today, and then we drove basically 4 hours in the middle of nowhere, and we're just in the heart of Italy in some town I don't know. There's no internet. I'm at an Airbnb they've got internet, but there's no mobile reception. It is literally in the middle of nowhere, so it's I don't know where I am. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got to say, Lee, the Amalfi Coast is probably one of my favourite places.
Wow.
On planet Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, congratulations
Definitely.
to you. Good luck to you. I'm in France. I've made it across over to this beautiful part of the world as well. I'm here to follow a big famous bike race, which I've been doing for the last 26 years, but I'm not doing it as a broadcaster. This year I'm hosting a cycling tour operated by Bike Style Tours. So looking forward to day two. We did day one. I'm around the Alps, very close to where the stage finished today in Switzerland, across the border.
The Domestics by Black Sheep Cycling.
Well, we've got a big program today. Coming up on today's podcast is Dave Sanders, the man who groomed Simon Clarke, who this week broke through for a wonderful stage victory at the Tour de France. But first of all, let's talk about the Tour so far. 8 stages down, and we've seen something quite incredible. We've seen a great race, very exciting, a lot of attacking. The big question is, can anybody catch the two-time defending champion from Slovenia? His name is Tadej Pogačar, and I've got to say, Tills, Lee, this young fellow, he is just head and shoulders above anybody else. He is just the next level, isn't he?
Yeah, he's almost taking the piss a little bit. He's winning on every stage, and even last night, that shouldn't have been his stage. He was almost right there. He was third place and getting even more bonus seconds. So I'm not sure whether it would be COVID or a crash, which you don't want to happen, but certainly the teams are going to have to get together, have a team meeting between Ineos, Jumbo, and a few others, and see if they can unseat him.
The thing I like about Pogačar is the fact that he attacks. In years gone by, Chris Froome, when he had the yellow jersey, he didn't attack at all. He just defended the lead. Pogačar is totally different. He has a totally different approach to the race lead.
He's an assassin. He's a bike racer. He wants to win. He's just not there. He wants to win. If there's an opportunity, he will try and win. It's exciting. It's good for us viewers. And as we were saying off air, this has been one of the best tours. Each stage has been, it's just a fantastic soap opera. Like yesterday with the gravel section at the end, it was just so exciting. Today was good. Like it's just the day before with Wout, it has just been one great adventure after the other. It's just been one of the best tours for many years so
Jules,
far.
can I ask you, the Jumbo team, are they ready to take up the fight against UAE and Pogačar? Can they do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Something's going on there. I feel like they seem very stressed, and we're obviously going to talk to Dave about Simon Clarke, but I loved one of the quotes that Simon gave at the end of his unbelievable win was that if you stress, you lose. And that's really what we saw on Jumbo on that. I think it was the stage 5 or stage 6 where, the cobbled stage. And they just are doing so much work. Even last night in stage 8, they were doing huge amounts of work for Wout van Aert in the green jersey. They're then trying to work for Vingegaard and Roglic. I'm just not sure what's going to be left in week 2 and 3. And I've actually been very surprised at how good Ineos are looking. I was sort of writing them off at the start, thinking they didn't have the team for it, but they're actually looking extremely good. So, yeah, it will be interesting what they're going to have left for the next few weeks, but they do need to get together with some of the other teams and really try to unseed UAE.
Yeah, well, two outstanding riders, Wout van Aert and Pogačar. But Michael Matthews, he finished runner-up in stage 8, did a great job, was very unlucky, but I think he was just beaten by a better rider in Wout van Aert.
The tour stakes.
Let's now introduce the man who is responsible for grooming our Australian stage winner from earlier this week. The triumph was 20 years in the making. I'm talking about Simon Clarke. And for those of us who have closely followed the career of Clarke, well, we all agree that win was fully deserved. And while Simon rightfully enjoys the spoils of victory, I thought we'd invite a man regarded as one of the most influential in Australian cycling. Dave Sanders is responsible for developing many elite cyclists who have gone on to enjoy great success, and I'm sure he was just as excited as anyone else when Clarke crossed the finish line with his arms raised a couple of days ago. Dave Sanders is our special guest on the Domestiques. Dave, you're officially a domestique on the Domestiques. Welcome.
That's a privilege. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Yeah.
Well, let me get your thoughts on Clarke's win. How did you react?
Wow. Yeah, it was, as you said, a culmination of 20 years of toil, and what a ride. And I've spoken to him since, and it absolutely shattered him. He's physically in bits. He's strained his groin, strained this, strained that, but he said he wouldn't have changed anything for the world. That was his chance, and he took it. It was magnificent. We spoke beforehand, and we just common sense knew that it would be safest place would be up the road. In the group, it's even in just the fact that it's a tour, just to survive. You got to get through the stage, and the crashes happen back in the peloton. So get up the road. Although he's missed this, then no, he rode across on his own. If you look back, he got across to that break, and he said they were riding 53.11 nearly all day, just going. I said, do you realise what? Have a look at replay. You probably haven't had a chance to look at it, but have a look at it. What was going on behind you made it one of the most epic stages of all time. It really was, and you won it. He said, yeah. But the final, when he came down, there's 4 left, 2 from the same team. So what's going to happen? He knew one of them, they were going to one to him. And then when the attack came, and who's going to chase it? There's only 2 guys are going to chase it, and he who blinks first loses. It was just cold, hard, just tough it out, and then the timing of that, it was just magnificent. And when they brought him back, it's still 3:50 to go. It was still too early to go, and he just waited and had to be cold, hard, just wait it out. And when he crossed the line, Mike said he had his hands in the air. Have another look. He couldn't even see. He didn't know if he'd won. He said he'd lost vision about
that's true.
50 metres to go, and just crawled across the line. But it was timing, you know. It was and that's Clarke. He just gets everything right as much as he can. He gets everything out of himself on the day. So that bit didn't surprise me. Once I saw the flag, I thought he's going to take some beating here, but I was jumping up and down on the bed, and I thought, he's missed it, but he didn't. He had it calculated. It was a great Clarke win.
So did you watch it live, I take it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every pedal stroke, yeah.
Did you think when that guy, I can't remember his name, did go and they didn't chase him, do you think, because the commentators on GCN said it looked like they'd blown it, did you think that they were going to get him?
No, I didn't think they'd get him. Because because I looked at the dynamics of what was in the group, and I thought there was only two guys can chase this, and whoever chases it is sacrificing. And you know what happens in the dynamics of those little groups. He's gone. That's that. So I thought it was gone, but things change now in this little world dramatically, and they're all on their knees, you know. So I thought it was all over.
So, Dave, you said that Simon can hardly walk after that stage, and it's still only 6 days into the tour over 3 weeks. How do they get up the next day? And then I was blown away at the following stage, because I really thought that Roubaix stage would have impacts on, you know, the how exciting the next few weeks would be. But they got up the next day and rode the 4th fastest tour stage in history.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, Simon's he said, I've just got to limp into this rest day, just survive till the rest day. It's just phenomenal. And I've saying before, this is, it's the best tour in quite a number of years. I can't remember day by day. And we were saying the tour became such a controlled parade, you know, through the Sky and Ineos years where they just controlled the stages. It was so predictable. It's hate to say boring, but it was, you know. And this one every day is just out of control. What's going down here? It's fantastic, you know. The array of athletes, the array of riders, and the way the race is allowed to be opened up. It's fantastic. We love it.
Dave, just back to Simon, I've got to ask you, tell us about your relationship. How far back does it go with Simon Clarke? He's 36 years of age. You've groomed so many young riders who have become household names in Australia and across the world. What are your earliest memories in developing Simon?
We go back to junior years, 16, so that's 20 years ago. And he was a junior, and he wanted to go to Junior Worlds. I was national junior road coach at the time, also head coach of the Victorian Institute of Sport. So he came on our radars at that time as a pretty good junior. Wasn't a superstar, just bloody handy. He wanted to go to track worlds and road worlds. I thought, well, no, pick this. This sums up Clarke. This is his story. You know, this is who he is. I'll try and abbreviate it. Anyway, I said, no, just go down one path. I think your best chance is on the road. Anyway, he didn't even get selected in the Victorian team to go to the track nationals, the national titles. He somehow scammed his way around. Can I just go and do a qualifying time? This is Clarke. Can't remember anybody ever in history just bluffing his way in like that. Anyway, he went and did a qualifying time for the pursuit, qualified 3rd or 4th or something, didn't get to ride the final because he wasn't even in the state team. Somehow scammed his way and got selected in the national team, a potential in the long list. Then I said, mate, but we did concentrate on the road. He qualified for the road team. Righto, you're going to Road Worlds. Don't compromise it with this track ambition. It's just all too much. He's still doing year 12 at school. No, I want to go to the track. Anyway, whatever. I said, okay. You're not going to. They're going to flick you out of this team's pursuit team because it's just politics. And I said, well, the only person they can't flick is the starter in the team's pursuit team. I said, didn't think he had the actual power to, start as a power guy. I just personally didn't think he had that talent. But he said, well, we do this. We do 1,000 starts and train that fast twitch power talent. Anyway, he did. He qualified as starter, went to the Worlds, won a world title, became world champion, and then went to the Road Worlds, attacked late. It was a crest. It was about a K from the finish. He was 20 seconds in front, approaching the crest, final lap. A couple got to him, I don't know, 100 metres before the crest. If he gets over the crest on his own, it was virtually downhill to the finish. He would have won the world title there. They caught him. He ran about 10th. But that's Clarke. He's just so determined. When he sets his mind to something, he just does it. And you just say, yeah, well, that's Clarke. That's what he does. So that was through juniors. And then we became good mates. And I've been with him right through till his pro years, up until only COVID stopped me going to Europe. I've done even like privately with him as his got these sports scientists for all the coaches now, but I'm the trainer, and I ride the motorbike for him, and altitude camps, stay with him at in his home. He's got a home in Italy, he's got a home in Andorra, and we would go and do a month or so motor pacing in at altitude camps or in Italy, pre-classics, pre-tour. And we're very good mates. So I've been pretty close to him all the way through. And the thrill to see what he pulled off the other day. I actually said to him, when he told me how crippled he was, I said, do you think it's time to find an easier way to make a living? He said, you couldn't get that, you couldn't buy that reward the other day. And I said, yeah, point taken. Good on you.
Did you cry when he won?
I was just screaming. I live in apartments and there was lights going on around the neighbours and Buddy was screaming and yelling. I went and woke up my partner who doesn't like to be woken up. But she said, "Well, yeah, it was fantastic. I had to milk the moment. It was brilliant." And then the messages started coming from right around the world until 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm pretty good mates with his brother, and we were chatting. And then I was getting messages from Europe and messages from everybody. It was out of control. It was just one of those moments you just wanted to milk it and relive it. It was fantastic. It was awesome. Yeah, beautiful.
And so, Dave, a lot's been made of the fact that Simon Clarke didn't have a contract earlier in the year. What was that period like for you guys, and what was the conversation that you were having with him? Like, I remember I was at Bay Crits this year. Yep. Simon was there. He was in every breakaway and without a contract.
Yeah, well, I went there to look after him because he didn't even have a team in Australia. I said, I'll come look after you, no worries. We thought it was over. We had good people ringing good people. He was just harassing everybody, and he rode the Bay Crits, and he thought we put a big summer in. He was going to try and win the national road title, which he hasn't really targeted before because he's always thought it was too early in the year to be trying to really punch it up. We thought if I'm national road champion, there could be somebody might want those points, and we went back to all the old faces and the teams and tried to pull personal favours. And I'm disappointed, to be honest with you, that someone didn't give him an opportunity. As a road captain, we didn't know he'd be winning stages in the Tour de France. But as a road captain, I saw a just last year one of the prominent cycling journos put together a super team, super climbers, super sprinters, whatever, and he had Simon Clarke as road captain, and I thought that's the respect he has.
And just explain what road captain is, Dave. What does that mean to the people? Because it's a little bit different than, say, the captain on the football field.
It's different, but it's not different. It's similar. You really, the director pulls the tactical shots from the car in the pre-race meetings, but the road captain's on the road pretty much supervising the riders mouth to mouth. He's there. He's the man on the road, and he calls the shots. yes, chase that break. No, pull it back. Come on, you guys, pull it, ride it, whatever's going down, analysing what's going on the road. And takes a lot to do under the stress of racing yourself and calling the shots. And it has to be someone riders respect. It may not even be the protected rider who is the protected rider in that team for a GC or whatever. It's somebody that can be calm, cool, analyse what's going on and call the shots. And he just has a sixth sense for figuring out things that are going on and how to go about it. That's the respect he has.
So, Dave, you take us back. You weren't, still didn't have a team. You're calling everyone. Where does it go from there? Well, it happened
at the Bay Crits. We're in Geelong, and some various people were talking to him, and I could tell by the way he was just holding back his answers. Something's going on here. And he said, no. He said, I got a gig with Israel and I got to leave tomorrow to go to training camp. So he didn't ride the Nationals either. I said, oh, well, there you go. He said, yeah, it's happening. I said, well, and wow. He went there and came out running, and he had a couple of really good podiums early in the year. He said, no, still got, because he said to me, I reckon I've still got a good 2 or 3 years left of me. And even about 2 weeks ago, he says, I'm just still as keen, I still want to do this. I'm still training as hard, but he said, I am getting older. I can feel it. But it's interesting. Go on. Years ago, it was Tour of Flanders. It wasn't Paris-Roubaix. He got an early break, and he was out there and going. There was about 6 in it or 8, and it got down to about 4. He was still there. And then Cancellara came across and got to Simon's group, and Cancellara just blew him off the wheel. He went through, I think he went ahead and won. And I was talking to Simon later. He said, oh, OMG. He said, I just don't have the power. He said, we were doing 600 watts for 4 or 5 minutes across those cobbles, and these guys just rode away from me. And well, these guys was Cancellara, but he said I just didn't have that power. But you talk about age. It was probably 10 years ago, and now he's 35, whatever, and he has got the power. They were going. When you look at who was chasing them, they weren't. It wasn't a lucky escape where the peloton let them go. They were going, and when when the line-outs came behind them, they were full noise. And even when the bloody Pogmobile let loose at the finish, they were full on, and they got them back to about 40 seconds. Then they went back to 50 seconds a minute. They weren't waiting for them. And he said, no. He said, when you're spinning 55.11, he said, when you were going, he said, they were going to take a bit of catching. So there you go. As his mid-30s, he's got the power now. He's got the strength. That diesel strength anyway.
Dave, I want to ask you, Dave, Simon Clarke, I've known him for the best part of 20 years, and apart from being a fabulous ambassador for his sport, he's a decent human being as well. And, they're very few and far between. But I want to just touch on now the race itself. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Pogačar has got this Tour de France well and truly won. And it hurts me to say that, given that we're only into the first week, at the end of the first week. But despite that, he doesn't make it boring like others in the past have. But I put him up there already at the age of 23 with the likes of Eddie Merckx and Bernard Hinault and Miguel Indurain, and even the guy that crossed the finish line first from America 7 times before being stripped of his title. Pogačar's just 23 years of age, Dave. He loves to ride his bike. When he crossed the finish line at Belfi, he turned around and gave everybody in the crowd, as many as he could, high fives. I mean, who does that? Who does that wearing a yellow jersey? He's been up near the front of the race virtually from the get-go. He just loves racing. And I don't think he cares too much about the money that he's earning. He cares too much about the fame. It's all about the love for the bicycle. Is that how you see it?
Oh, yeah, he loves it. It's gold, and he's just seems like a nice guy, character. I personally don't know him, but I know people who do, and they say, no, he's just cool. He's a good guy. And it's what our sport needed this. The Van der Poels and the Evenepoels and the Pog and these characters have just taken it to another level. And from what it was just calculated and once again, I hate to say it got boring. It was so predictable, the tours and the big teams that just controlled everything. They let a break go, bring it back, in the last couple of K, same. Every bloody day it was just whatever it was. But these characters have just tipped it upside down, and we'd love it. It's just you never know what's going to come down, and the Pog Express, holy moly, it's on, and he can do anything. The guy can time trial. He won Liège. He's a 21-year-old, it's the tour is. It would have to be something to go very wrong, or we thought, and a lot of people think, he doesn't have the team to back him all the way to the line. His team's done a pretty bloody good job so far. They've been there. Even the big climbing stage 2 days ago, they were there in numbers right till near the finish. Whether they can keep that up for the whole tour, I doubt it. There are some other, other teams need to combine. Jumbo needs to use Roglic. Vingegaard, don't underestimate him. I think he's the only one who can go with Pogačar, and he can go with him. He can match him. I don't know if he can beat him, but he can match him. But if you isolate Pogačar early on, some of these days with multi-climbs, you'll isolate him early on, and then so he has to do it. You saw him have a bit of a glitch there last year when Vingegaard almost got the better of him. Because he's going quite deep so often, I hope I'm wrong, because he deserves to win. He's just a bloody superstar. But it is possible in this day and age where you can't just be the best every day and go deep every day because they're all human these days. It is possible he has a day that's not his best, and in Vingegaard's there, he could. I don't know if he's going to ever put a lot of time in it, but it's possible. It's possible, but they need to isolate him early in the stage.
What's your opinion of Australian cycling now? We saw Jai Hindley win the Giro. Is Australian cycling in a good spot at the moment with the youth coming through?
Well, I took Jai right through, same from junior, took him to Junior Worlds, and he was in my under-23 program in Italy for years, and it was just magnificent. That was another tear in the eye moment. But there's been a big gap in our development. The last junior program that was run properly, in my opinion, well, it was run at all, it was 216. In that my junior group that year was Jai Hindley, Michael Storer, Lucas Hamilton, etc. There hasn't been a junior program run since. Wow. That's taken this long for them to blossom, and there hasn't been a junior program run since. Our esteemed hierarchy at Australian cycling dropped all funding for road altogether. Even the under-23 program we were running was not funded by National Cycling, Australian Cycling. It was funded by Jerry Ryan. And there's been no development at all. So the only guy who's sort of just steamrolled his way through in that time since then is Luke Plaff, who virtually did it on his own. And I hooked him up. He went to Europe on his own as a junior. He's in Girona on his own. I heard he was there and hooked him up with the Greenedge guys to look after him. And he went through to Junior Worlds, and Evenepoel was the star of the show there, but you forget who ran second to him in the time trial was Luke Plaff. So as far as junior development, there's been a big hole.
Why don't Green Edge sign these good guys like Storr or Plapp or Hindley? Why aren't these good Aussie guys going to Green Edge, and why the ones that are there leave, like Hagen stuff?
That is a worry. That is a worry. It concerns me. There's a long list of guys who
Definitely
were there and are not, including staff and riders, and the guys who are really achieving Aussies at the highest level are not in Green Edge. And yeah, I'm not going to say it on here, but there's
make sense.
There's
Doesn't
problems
make
there.
sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's not ideal in my opinion.
Dave, you mentioned Michael Storr as having already in week one showing his colours and had a great stage 2 days ago. How far do you think he can go with this tour, and should I put him on for
Not
King
in
of
this
the Mountain?
tour. Michael's an interesting character, lovely boy, but he does what he's there. You know, he's obviously there as a super domestic. He was very relaxed early in the week, which we saw, and I thought, what's going on here? You know, riding around last wheel, but that's Michael. But when the time comes, he has the motor, and he is. You'll see him in the finals of the big climbs when he's needed as a super domestique, and that's what he's there for this event, and that's what he'll do. But he'll be there when he's needed.
Do you believe that Ben O'Connor can come back from the last few stages, Dave? Do you think he can get up the road and they'll let him go and do, be able to get 2 minutes up the road in a breakaway or similar?
Look what happened last year, and he got that time back in a break. What impressed me was he hung on to it last year. I wasn't sure, I hadn't made my mind up where he was at, but last year he got that a big chunk of time back, and he hung on to it. He's got issues. I saw him last night back at the race doctor, and I think he's, from his little crash. Sometimes there's little crashes, and we all say, oh, it was only a little crash, he's back, but they hurt him, and he's got a problem. He's got some sort of problem, which is a shame because, he showed that he was right up there in Dauphine and proving that he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He wasn't lucky. He's a rated climber, and he's there, and he's a GC guy, but I think his chances are gone for this year. Because he hasn't lost 20 minutes, so he can escape and win a stage. But hopefully he can pull something out.
This is the Domestics, presented by Black Sheep Cycling.
Dave, I don't know what you're doing these days, and I hope you're not lost to Australian cycling, but I do know that you are riding your bike several 100 kilometres every week, or pretty close. Anyway, You're looking great. You've lost a ton of weight, let me tell you. And I just want to personally congratulate you for everything you've done in terms of developing these young riders that we've mentioned in the podcast today. Tell me you're not lost to Australian cycling.
Well, that's an interesting conversation.
Tell us what you really think, Dave. Don't hold back.
I'll talk to anybody who talks to me, but there ain't many talking to me, and it does annoy me. I'm still coaching a few kids.
That is a damn shame.
I'm still coaching a few kids. I went up to Cairns 2 weeks ago to run a training camp for just a club group up there. And they were fantastic young kids. And if someone talks to me, I'll talk to them. I'm still in my blood. It's still what it is. I spoke to Simon 2 weeks ago. He said, I'll be honest, I'm getting bored here, and it's cold, and I haven't spent a winter in Australia, for 30 years, except for the last couple of years in through COVID. He said, well, get your ass over here. We'll find something for you to do. And I think I will. I'll continue to do that. But there are quite a number of super experienced people with the knowledge, with the contacts, with the networks sitting around Australia, staring out the window, and no one's talking to them. And it really does. That does concern me.
All right, well, that is a damn shame. We'll have to leave it there, Dave. Thanks for joining us on the Domestics. You are officially a domestic now on the Domestics. Tills, we'll do it all again very soon. And Hollywood, put a shirt on.
I will. All right. Great chat, Dave. Thanks,
well,
mate. That was very interesting.
Thanks,
Real
Dave.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to us on the Domestics, brought to you by Black Sheep Cycling Apparel. And don't forget, you can contact us and ask us what you want to hear. Dave Sanders has been a breath of fresh air and very honest, and we thank you, Dave. In the meantime, we'll do it all again very soon. Bye for now.
The Domestics by Black Sheep Cycling.